Welcome to the third episode of our Blazer Suit Masterclass. In order to complete the drafting of the back panel, I will be adding my seam allowances all around the pattern, which is the last step. I will add half of an inch of seam allowance at the center back because after cutting this out on fabric, it's going to be in pieces because the center back is no more on a straight line. So I will be adding my half of an inch of seam allowance downward from the neckline downward to the hemline. Also on the neckline, as I said earlier, I will be adding half of an inch. So this will be measured upward, like so. On the shoulder line as well, I will add half of an inch of seam allowance. On the armhole, half of an inch. Then by the side, half of an inch. So I'll be adding half of an inch by the side in order to attach the side together with the center piece. But for the vent area, I will not be adding seam allowance. This is because seam allowance is included with the 2 inches. So guys, I've added the seam allowances all around the pattern, on the neckline, on the shoulder line, the center back, the armhole, and by the side of the pattern, and I stopped on the vent allowance. So the next step is to move my pattern paper forward so that I can complete the drafting of the front panel. So guys, it's time to construct the collar, and in constructing the collar, I will be needing the measurement for the back neckline, which I've taken. I have 4.5 inches for that. Don't forget, I said it earlier that I will be making use of the back neckline measurement in order to complete the construction of the collar. So I have my line extended outward already. So that is the lapel line. I extended it upward. Okay, so I will be inserting the measurement for the back neckline, which is 4.5 inches. From the neck width point, I will measure 4.5 inches forward. So, and this is the point. Okay, so this point, I will take it forward towards the side of the pattern by half of an inch so that I will be able to shape the straight line to have a curvy effect so that the collar will be able to sit well on the neck area. Okay, because the neckline is not on a straight line. So with this, I will just take my curve ruler, then blend it up like so. Okay, so this is the neckline for the back now and not the straight line. So the measurement I will be taking will start from this half of an inch point, which is here. Okay, so the next step is to insert the wideness of the collar. The standard measurement for collar width is 3 inches. If you want it wider, you can add to it. If you don't want it to be wide like so, you can reduce the measurement. You can use 2.5 inches if you don't mind. But as for me, I will be making use of 2.5 inches, but I will insert 3 inches in total. So, which means I've added half of an inch as seam allowance because I don't want to be taking that separately in order to save our time. So instead of 2.5 inches, I will measure 3 inches. After constructing the collar, I will be left with 2.5 inches. Okay, then I will extend it like so. I will make sure I have a straight line. So in achieving a straight line, what I'll be doing is I will take the measurement I have from the half of an inch point to the edge of the pattern paper. So this will help me to have a perfect straight line. Okay, 0.75. So now I will be constructing the shape I want for my collar, and I'll be making use of my curve ruler. I will be connecting from the collar point, that is the width point for the collar, and I will stop on the first button break point. As you can see, the positioning of my ruler, the curve side is facing outward, that is towards the center front. As you can see, the positioning of my ruler, the curve side is facing outward like so, is not facing towards the side of the pattern. So that is the shape you must have for your shawl collar. Okay, can you see what I have for my collar? And because I've connected the collar to this point, I will have to blend this up in order to connect properly together with the remaining button allowance, like so. Can you see what I'm having? Okay, so now I have the collar drafted. So the next step is to add seam allowances on the remaining parts of the front panel. I have my seam allowances added on some of the parts of the pattern already, but on the shoulder line, the armhole and the back neckline, also at this side, so that is the joining side, I will be adding extra half of an inch. Again, on this line, I will be adding half of an inch, the back neckline half of an inch, the shoulder line for the front panel half of an inch, then the armhole half of an inch. I will be adding the half of an inch all around until it gets to the end of the center piece. Don't forget, this is where the front panel stops. So what I have from here to this point is for the center piece. So I will be adding the half of an inch all around like so, because they are going together. So on the collar area, I will not be adding extra seam allowance because I've added that together with my measurements. So guys, I'm done with the construction of the seam allowances. As you can see, I've added my seam allowances all around the pattern. I have seam allowances on the shoulder line here for the back neckline half of an inch, the front shoulder line half of an inch, then the armhole all around to the extension point half of an inch. Okay, I have my collar constructed here to the first button break point. I blended the line up to meet up with the remaining button allowance. So before I cut out the pattern, let me quickly go back to this point, which I promised I will tell you what to do at the end of the day. Okay, so this is the pocket opening for the lower part of the suit. In the previous episode, when I was constructing this, what I have left here is not enough for the pocket opening. I told you can use 5 inches or 6 inches for your pocket opening. So as for me, I decided to use 5 inches. Then what I have left here is not up to 5 inches. So what I have from this point to the side of the front panel is 3.75. Okay, then I extended it outward towards the center front by 1 inch, and I told you must not use above 1 inch for this side. Now, even from this 1 inch point, when I take the measurement, it's still not enough. So what I'll be doing is I extended the line outward to get to the center piece point. Okay, so let me just trace the line out properly so that you can see it clearly. So here is the line. So this is where the center piece starts. This is the starting point for the center piece. What I have from here to here is half of an inch seam allowance for the side of the front panel. And what I have from here to here is the allowance, that is excess I have beside the center piece. So the measurement starts from here. So whatever you have left in order to complete the pocket opening, just add it to this side. Okay, so which means you'll be picking it from here, so there's no issue about that. So after joining the front panel together with the center piece, all you need to do is just to extend the opening of your pocket to get to the center piece. So that is what I will be doing. So that is just that. I don't need to mark that out because I'm not yet constructing the pockets. Having said that, the last step is to cut out the pattern, and I will start cutting from the front panel. Okay, so from the collar area, I'll be cutting this off. I'm cutting on the seam allowance line. Okay, I will cut this downward. Then I will stop on the seam allowance point. Then I will cut on the shoulder line. So that is the front panel shoulder line. And I will also cut on the armhole. So please, when you are cutting on the armhole, make sure you cut at once to the center piece point. So don't cut the front panel alone. Make sure you cut the two together so that when you are joining, they will align properly. So that is what I'll be doing right now. I'll cut the armhole until it touches the center piece point. So this is what I have. Now I will be cutting the side of the front panel. Don't forget, this is where the front panel stops. Then this point is a seam allowance. Now I'll be cutting on the seam allowance downward. Okay. So that is the front panel. Then I will cut it out on the hemline. So the last step is to cut out the collar area. So you can see here is the front panel. So then I'll be cutting out the collar. Okay, so the front panel is ready. You can see what I have for my shawl collar blazer suit. I love the shape. You can see it really came out well. So can you see what I have? So the collar is going like so. It will overlap like so. So this is what I will have after constructing the collar. So now let's go to the cutting of the center piece. So here is the center piece. I will be cutting it out now. So this is the excess I told you I have in between the center piece and the front panel. You can see it. So I'll just trim it off like so. Okay. Then from the remaining part of the armhole, don't forget I trim off the front and the center piece armhole together. Then I remove the front panel. Now this is the remaining part of the armhole. This is going to fall on the center piece. So then by the side of the center piece, and I will cut downward. When I get to the vent point, I will stop, curve it out like so. Okay, then I will cut it downward to the hemline. Then I will cut it out on the hemline. So this is what I have for the center piece. You can see how beautiful it looks. Now let's move to the cutting of the back panel. Now to the cutting of the back panel, I'll be cutting like so. I will start from the center back. So now I will be cutting on the neckline. So now I will be cutting out the side of the back panel. Then I will stop on the vent allowance point. So here is a vent point. I will stop there. Then I will trace it out like so. So this is the vent line and not here. So I'll be cutting here. So guys, this is what we have so far after constructing the front, the back panel and the center piece of our blazer suit. You can see the shape really come out well. You can see the connection of the armhole, the points meet together and the shape is looking good. Okay, and also you can see the opening we have by the side. By the time we take this together, this is what will bring out the shape of the suit by the side. Okay, and here is a vent allowance. You can see it overlaps like so. I have my seam allowances around the pattern. Now let me quickly explain this. Here is the center piece. Okay, what I have here is 4 inches. So half of an inch will be taken from here in order to attach this together with the front panel. Then on this side as well, half of an inch will be taken in order to attach this together with this. So which means for the center piece, what I will be having left is 3 inches. Now after drafting your pattern, make sure you take your measurement, especially on the waist area. What you have left, I took the measurement I have here. I took the measurement I have here excluding the seam allowances. Okay, because on this front panel I have extra 1 inch which I've added together with the measurement. That's what I'll be using in constructing this dart. I added half of an inch for the dart intake, then 1 inch in joining the dart point together. That is 1.5 inches. So what I have from here to here is plus 1.5 inches. So I did the calculation properly. I took the measurement I have on the back panel as well, on the waist area, excluding the seam allowances. I have 7. Okay, so here as well I must have 7 inches. You can see I have 8.5 inches. That is plus extra 1.5 inches for seam allowance. So by the time I had this together, then I added these 3 inches. What I have is equal to half of the waist circumference measurement I'm working with. The waist circumference I'm working with is 34 inches before I subtracted 6 inches. So after cutting your patterns, the front, the back and the center piece, so make sure you take this measurement diligently, add them together and make sure you have up to half of the waist circumference measurement you are having. So if you don't have up to that, that means something is wrong with your calculation. You can go back to the drafting from the beginning and start all over. So that is one of the advantages you have when you are making use of pattern drafting. It helps you in correcting your mistakes before cutting out the fabric, and you will be very sure of what you are doing before you go into it fully. So far so good. We are done with the drafting of a shawl collar blazer suit with 2-sided vents and double-breasted. Thank you guys for staying on this video to this point. Believe me, we've just started, as I said earlier in the second episode, because there are more to learn in this blazer suit series. Let's meet in the next episode of this video series, where we will be starting the sewing fully. Till then, always do remember, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs.